My today's guest is Tom Wilson, retired folk singer, songwriter, and amateur photographer working from his home studio and gallery in a small lakeside village in the heart of the Canadian prairie. Enjoy. Tom, welcome. Welcome to Frames. Finally, we made it.
Thomas, I'm so glad to be here.
Early morning for you. You are based in Canada. Where exactly? Whereabouts?
Right in the center of the country in Saskatchewan. We live in a very small town, a village of 300 people called Elbow. And it's right beside a very large lake called Lake Diefenbaker that has about 500 miles, 850 kilometers of shoreline, and it's a place of natural beauty and lots of wildlife and big skies. Our license plate says the land of living skies.
Yeah, like the sky behind you, right? I can imagine. It's from your area?
Yeah. This, I want to say, actually, this photograph, this was the first one that I had printed to aluminum. And it's called, it's one of two images called The Dragons of Twilight. And this was bought by my friends Nordis and Doyle Wonkel, who live here in town. And so this belongs to them. And as soon as we finish this recording, I have to return it to them.
So you brought some props, right, for our recording?
Some props out. This is my apartment set,
Well, wonderful. So, You wrote me, in your email that exactly the area you're living in brings so much inspiration into your photography, and this is the main triggers which kind of make you grab the camera, walk, travel around, walk around, and tell us a bit more. Like, what is your main fascination these days? Nature, but is there something in particular? What are you trying to capture on your photos these days?
I'm surrounded by natural beauty. A friend who is also involved in the Frames community, who lives in a large urban center in Toronto, asked me if I think he was feeling sorry for me because I live out in the sticks, in the boondocks, and wondered if I ever ran short of inspirational material. And I told him that that's impossible here, because all I have to do is look out my window, and the sky is different, the weather is different, it's always changing and moving. If I go down to the lake, which is just about every day, go down to the lake and I walk the beaches and I walk the trails, and we're on a number of bird migratory paths. So the amount of birds that we have here is absolutely astonishing, and so there's no shortage of inspirational material. I think that some people, some photographers will take a picture of a truck. And I'm more interested in the light and the shadows that are reflecting off of the subject, and I'm kind of a student of Claude Monet, where he wanted to capture the breath and the atmosphere of a subject rather than the subject itself.
Yeah, you are stealing all the questions, from my list, because I was looking at your images, of course, before we started recording, and exactly I can see it. So many of them, full of lines, shadows, shapes, reflections, and so on. So I can feel this fascination with what is not actually the actual subject, but what's behind it, kind of what kind of shapes or whatever reaction it creates. And I think you are capturing it wonderfully, in so many of your images. But living there where you live, with all the nature around you, and then having your friend in Toronto, do you occasionally miss this city environment of buildings, which is also full of lines, shadows, right, and reflections?
My wife is laughing right now. I spent 30 years in cities, working in cities and driving in the traffic every day. And no, I don't miss that at all. If anything, I'm becoming, in this small place, this is a very touristy region, and particularly this weekend, we've had a huge influx of tourists here because it's a beautiful area. So people come here to camp and to fish and to be part of the wildlife that's here. You know, they bring their boats and there is never a shortage of inspiration for photography, and you know. So no, I don't miss the city.
No, okay, but this passion for nature and for nature photography now, was it something, because I can imagine you have been photographing for several years, right? Also before, did you photograph already when living in a city before, before moving here?
That's a very good question. I'm brand new to photography. I'm a novice photographer. Most of my life I have been a musician. I play
Which instrument? Which instrument?
I play guitar.
Well,
I play guitar.
You know I'm pianist, right?
I do know that, and so you and I have more in common than I think you realize. But most of my life I have been a musician. I'm a singer-songwriter. I have written songs. I've recorded albums, and done a lot of gigs and music and concert halls and that kind of stuff. But about a few years ago, I once had a car accident, and I broke a bone in my hand. And the surgeon told me at that time, which was maybe 30 years ago or more, told me that someday I will have problems with my hand. And I was in a recording studio in Edmonton, Alberta, at a radio station, recording live to the internet. And I'm recording a song of my own with my band, with the guys that I worked with, and we're broadcasting live to the world. And suddenly, in this moment, this frozen moment, my hand didn't work, and I could not play an F major chord. I couldn't. It wouldn't go there. And all of this is in slow-mo now, and my mind is working at, just blink, 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 but my hand is not working and it's not forming the chord. And I knew in that instant that I was finished as a professional musician. So these last 3 years have been transitioning to some other creative expression. And so my photography has, when Frames was brand new, Volume 1 was being shipped, and I saw an ad for it. And I said to my wife, I have to belong to this. I have to be a part of this new adventure in photography. I need to be part of this. And so Frames has been my inspiration for these last.
That's nice to know.
3 years with Frames, and it took me almost a year to get the courage to post one of my photographs. And in that first week, Tomasz, you put your editor's applause on 2 of my photographs in the very first week that I posted. And it was tremendous for me. It was the best encouragement.
Okay, it's nice to know we have, from the Frames side, we have just, we are a little part of your, on your path, on your development.
Frames is at the center of my creative expression right now as a photographer, and I admit, I'm a brand new photographer. I have very much to learn. I consider myself a novice and a student of this process, but I bring to my new art form, and I consider photography an art form. I bring to it, 40 years as a professional musician and a way of seeing things, and I want my photography to be poetic. I wanted to express a poetic, artistic kind of feeling rather than just documenting, a picture of a truck or documenting an event,
Yeah, this is exactly. Let's take a moment, just about I'm also a musician myself, so I very often think about it. Expressing myself through music, which is it's a it's a piece of music, ongoing thing in time, right? Which can
Yes.
take minutes, half an hour, whatever it might be. But then we have a photograph, which is a frozen. It's a millisecond. It's a
Yes.
frozen slice of time. How
Yes.
where do you draw the, if any, parallels when it comes to expressing yourself? Through music, which is it takes time, takes some slice of time, and then photograph. I find it fascinating always, to finding those parallels between those two very different, but after all somehow similar.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by those parallels too. And I see this frozen moment in time, this visual representation of a moment. Maybe that picture is just the truck, or is there a story here? Is there some poetry here? What's going on with the light in this picture? What's going on with the clouds behind that truck? There must be some poetry in it. You're probably very aware of synesthesia, chromesthesia, the seeing color in music, and hearing songs in a picture. You look at a picture and you hear some music. I see this transferal of energies, from visual art to musical art, and it's all one process in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if I take a picture of the lake with the waves and the clouds behind, my question is, what's the music here? What's the poetry in this? And so I think that's probably the basis of my photography, is trying to get that poetry, trying to fix that poetry into this moment. And I'm not always successful with that. I'm very rarely successful, but I take a lot of pictures. I'm out every day, and maybe one out of however many, maybe one word. And that's the one that I want to show people.
Yeah. Do you happen, to when photographing, going out photographing, you tend to work, in silence, or you maybe listen to music sometimes, or rather not, or maybe you hear music in your head, exactly like you say, or think about.
Yeah, I do hear music a lot. A lot of it's just in my mind, but when I go out, I don't want that music. I don't want my own thoughts imposed on the environment. I want to listen to the birds. I want to listen to the wind in the leaves. I try to empty myself. It's kind of a Zen thing. I want to empty myself and be totally there for whatever comes. And maybe nothing arrives, maybe nothing is there, and I go home with a few kind of dull, flat photographs because there was no poetry, there was no music behind it.
I will share the screen with you now, so you will see some of your own images. And let's look maybe for some kind of musical parallels. I selected a few specific images. Let me just share the screen. Let me know if you can.
I've been very curious as to what you would select. What would appeal to you?
Well, let's start with this one. Can you see the image?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about this image. I mean, I love the how quiet this scene is. I'm really being invited into the scene. That the truck's starting just next to me. And is it somewhere in your area?
This is about 5 minutes drive away from here. All the photographs that I post to frames are are taken within 10 or 15 minutes of my home. We live in a big farmhouse that was moved from the farm into this little village about 20 years ago. It's a big century farmhouse. And when I leave here, this scene is about 5 minutes drive from here, and it's wide open prairie. It's the tracks just down by Mustosany. One of the great Canadian novelists is a man named W.O. Mitchell, and he's a prairie writer, and he wrote a book called The Vanishing Point. And as you are aware, the vanishing point is a painter's term for that point on the horizon where the sky and the highway meet, and it's that point. And I've written songs about that vanishing point, about imagining driving that highway, or in this case, being in the engine of the train and driving through that point and disappearing forever, into that void. So I'm fascinated by horizons. I'm fascinated by leading lines that converge to one point on that horizon, and that draw your eye to that forever place, beyond the horizon. I do a lot of this kind of photography.
Yeah, I have another example of your fascination here.
Right.
Absolutely.
This is classic Canadian prairies. You see the power lines everywhere, and this is you've got to deliver, just like the railroad. You've got to deliver goods, and in this case, you've got to deliver power, and that delivery system for the power just seems to go on into infinity. It's a beautiful. It's a beautiful idea, and from standing here and looking into infinity.
Are the locations, you photograph usually, or, predominantly places you already know, or is it a process of discovery, by walking, by traveling? Like this kind of place, did you know about it? Did you specifically plan, your trip towards this place, or was it something you discovered, suddenly when walking around?
Actually, I'm in the process, probably like a lot of photographers and artists who might be watching this broadcast. I'm in a process of discovery. Every day there's something new, and I actually drove past this scene, I don't know, 200 or 300 times without seeing it, But in the process of photography, of learning to be a photographer, of learning to open my eyes and see the world around me, I'm beginning to see scenes like this that I never saw before, that I didn't see yesterday. I'll see macro scenes, bugs and and little tiny things that never appeared to me before, and suddenly they're very important.
Isn't it wonderful? Like kind of how it enriches, it's like a exponential curve. We see more and more, right? Every single day when.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at something completely different here. I want to ask you about this photograph. Well, we have shadows, we have lines, but it's it's kind of a still life image. Wonderful.
Yes.
I can imagine it's not a black and white photograph. It's just really shadows and light, right? But the actual image is color.
This is actually color. But the mirror, the whole setup, it looks monochrome, and I guess it is, but I didn't shoot it in black and white. That is the natural color of the photograph. So,
So this was something you prepared, right? This is who broke the glass?
Oh, yeah. my wife broke the glass, and she's constantly my inspiration for photography. She's my eyes for things that I don't see, and she suggested that there might be a photograph in this, and so we did the setup, and so that's how it is.
Yeah, I think it's this.
Not every accident is a problem. Some accidents.
It was not deliberate, right? The breaking the glasses.
it was an accident.
No,
it was
but an amazing example of just taking this mundane, ordinary. I mean, just broken glasses. Somebody else, me, I would just, of course, swipe them away, throw them away. But it's also nice to know that your wife, kind of, you guys collaborate on those images. So it was kind of, she noticed something, she let you know. And, I mean, this is a beautiful, you should be printing this shot. I think this is a great still life image.
Thank you. I'll take your advice and we will print this one.
This is a great shot. One last photograph, something different this time.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us more about this one, because this is along some different lines here. Yeah, what's your eye?
Yeah. Well, okay. This is I would think that this would appear to many as a very urban kind of scene, an urban nighttime scene. But this was actually shot on the main street in front of my house in a village of 300 people in the middle of the Canadian prairie. I went out. I was trying to play with intentional camera movement, ICM. This is a lot of what I do is unintentional camera movement. But I played with the focus and got these blurry images that I really like. Another photographer might look at that and think, well, this is out of focus and this is useless. What a pointless exercise. But I see beauty in it, and so the little bokeh stuff from some taillights and headlights. I did add a couple of elements to this, but this is what the lens saw, and I was quite taken by this. I've done a number of these abstracts that are, for me, they're perfectly natural because I know where this happened, and I know the process for putting this together. If someone visually sees beauty in this kind of an image, then that pleases me greatly. I love this image.
Yeah, of course, I love it as well. I mean, it takes many. I've tried, and I occasionally I also venture into this kind of photography. It takes many shots to kind of end up with one which works, right, in terms of composition, the balance between the elements, and but this one is working perfectly fine. It's like it's kind of, this is direction painting, painting with camera,
Yes. Painting with light. Yeah.
No, so this is wonderful to see. I can see you enjoy many different kinds of photography. This is great. The passion is there. Do you work? Have you started working in any kind of project ideas? Like are you consciously continuing let's say working on this kind of shots and then putting it into one project or series, or is it still something rather?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Time is the problem.
For everyone,
I have a number of ideas. Yeah. I'm always working against time because there's never enough time to get everything done. This whole photography adventure for me began with a project, and it was the Shadows and Light project. My wife, we have a number of pieces of old glassware, colored glassware, and it was in the winter time. It was just after the winter solstice. and the horizontal sunlight coming through our front window was shining on these glasses, some pitchers and vases. My wife said I might be interested in taking some pictures of this because it was beautiful. Rather than taking pictures of the glassware all lit up in the sunlight, I took a picture of the shadows of that sunlight coming through the glasses. And that evolved into putting some white art paper on the table. And so I've got a more neutral surface for those colorful shadows. And, I did hundreds of these shadows of just sunlight coming through glassware and not allowing the glassware to be part of the photograph, only the shadows. I told people that my work has no substance. I don't know what I'm doing because I'm taking pictures of nothing. There's nothing there except shadows and light.
Which is actually the core, right, of what photography is. I have to say you have a perfect advisor, in your wife. I think she should be sitting here next to you on the video as well, because I feel like it.
She's just sitting out of the frame.
It's a great collaboration going on. Tom, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We will be, sharing many of your images, alongside, along this video. What's next? What are you working on? Is anything specific these days, or a project or a trip coming up?
No, I don't want to go anywhere. There's an old adage that says, create a life that you don't need a vacation from. And I think that's where we live. I'm very happy here. I have no desire to go anywhere except to put on my hiking shoes and walk down to the lake again. That for me is that's all I really need at this point. And I just want to take lots of pictures of what's going on today. The clouds are different than they were yesterday. We may have some new birds that have moved into the area with new wildlife. There will be new flowers blooming, and I just want to capture today in this environment and the changes that have happened.
And I think it's a great approach. I always advocate for this. Me myself not having enough time. But just in your backyard. Every day there is plethora of great photographs to take. So I think it's wonderful. Tom, thank you so much. We stay in touch.
Thank you, Tomasz.
We stay in touch, and looking forward to seeing more of your images, in the group, and possibly doing something on frames on the website. We will be working on something.
Yes,
I'm sure.
Tomasz, thank you for frames. Thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you for enriching our lives as well. It's a blessing.
Thank you so much, Tom. Have a wonderful day. Going out photographing today?
I will.
Okay, that's
absolute,
right? Okay, thank you so much, Tom. Great day. Yeah, talk soon. Thank you so much.